Welcome to the Visceral Voice podcast. I'm Christine Schneider, your host. Through this podcast, I aim to bring you the most current, up-to-date research on voice science, function, pain science, movement, and everything in between. I am on a quest to learn everything I can about the living, breathing body and its intricate connection to the voice. This podcast documents the continuation of my learning and my experience as a professional singer, a biomechanics specialist, and a manual therapist. Join us as we strive to provide current, knowledgeable, creative, and compassionate information to help you restore, regain, and create happiness and success on your vocal journey. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I am so thrilled for today's episode, where you can see I am not sitting at home in my living room doing an interview via Zoom, but I am actually in this gorgeous recording studio where I am joined by audio production designer extraordinaire Rodrigo Montelino, or to those of us lucky enough to call him friend Tox. Thank you for your brilliant work on the audio production and for opening the doors to this beautiful studio. Thank you, thank you. And a huge shout out to Jacobo Rios, the incredible creative behind the camera, for capturing this episode with such skill and artistry, just as he does with so many of our events. Thank you, Jacobo. I would also like to give a shout out to the amazing Micah Marty, who is here helping with production behind the scenes. Thank you so much, Micah. We are unbelievably grateful for everything that you have done for us throughout all of the events that we create and also for this entire week. Thank you so much for your work. I so am grateful. All right. Thank you so much. So I am very excited to talk about today's episode and to have our guest for today on this episode, who is one of my primary collaborators, Maria Palomar. Maria Palomar is a renowned voice teacher based in Mexico City. She incorporates biomechanics into her vocal practice to help top performers in the musical theater and pop industries unlock full potential of their voice. Her work is transforming the way artists connect with their bodies to find freedom, strength, and authenticity in their sound. Maria, I'm so thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me, Christine. It's such a joy.
Yay! It is such a joy, and it has been long overdue. So I'm thrilled to have you, and I'm thrilled to be able to do this episode today in the beautiful Mexico City.
Thank you.
So, for the listeners who might not know as much about you, I would love to start with talking about your journey or your path into the amazing work that you do now.
Well, during the pandemic, I wanted to start a music project. And so I was putting a lot of attention into my vocal training, but I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And so I thought that if I took more voice lessons, hopefully one day that sound that I was looking for, I would unlock. But it wasn't happening, and it actually never happened for me. I always felt stuck in my voice, and it was when I met you that I finally felt freedom in my sound. I took the cylinder course from you, in which you teach how to incorporate the body when you produce sound and how to manage intra-abdominal pressure. And for me, this was groundbreaking. I think when I started incorporating these drills, I finally felt my authentic sound come out. And this was life-changing. And so I thought, well, I really want to learn my biomechanics well, so as a singer, I can share the sound that I've been wanting to share with the world.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And I want to give you a shout out because during several of our online classes, you were right there at all of the Q&As, even when there was nobody else at a Q&A. You were so interested. Your questions were so informative for many other people, because we did hear in from other people that the questions that were being asked were some of the things that they were thinking. So it was incredible to have you in those programs and asking the questions that you were asking. They were very thought-provoking for not just your information, being able to take them in for your own work, and then also your teaching, which we'll come to in just a moment, but also for my work as a teacher and being able to enhance the work that I do through such phenomenal questions that you were asking. So it was incredible because I felt like I was learning right there with you of like, wow, I hadn't quite thought of that in this way, and how it and you have continued to help me grow as a practitioner, as a teacher, as a biomechanics specialist, as a human being, which of course will come into our friendship and the flourishing and our collaboration in just a moment. So thank you for sharing your experience coming into that as a singer, but you are also a voice teacher. So how have you started to implement, because that's something that so impressed me over a year ago, a year and a half ago or so, watching how you brought these drills and the understanding of biomechanics into your work as a teacher. And then, of course, we'll get into your work into events like the amazing Stamina Lab.
Well, I was lucky enough to have the time to learn biomechanics really well and to start trying out these drills with my students. It was amazing to me how something so simple could help someone advance in their goals, when I wasn't being able to do that with only vocal technique. And because I grew up as a dancer and I've been in touch with my body always, I think it was intuitive for me to explore these drills in my own body and with my students. And so quickly I turned what I had been learning from you into a practice in my studio. And I thought in order to spread spread the word, I thought it'd be really cool to organize group classes in which I could bring singers from all over Mexico City to experience the power of body work in the voice. And so I started um, bringing in about 25 singers into rooms and leading them through a progression that went from a restorative portion to a more athletic portion. And we would bring in the voice in between every 2 to 3 drills to help them feel what each drill had done to their voice, so that then if they wanted to incorporate these drills into their practice, they could. And that's how I became known in the city for this work, and I'm very grateful for it because I believe in it so much. I've seen how powerful it is, and it's just really beautiful to see when a singer who has been struggling with their voice, like I had been, finally is able to be present and simply express what they've been wanting to for so long.
I think it's so fun. For example, last night we had an amazing photo shoot. Thank you, Hokovo. And in that, as I was running you through some drills just for the photo shoot, after each drill, you were like, I feel amazing, which is really cool because you were in a drill for less than 30 seconds as we took a picture. And then you talked about how amazing you feel. So if you don't mind, however much you're comfortable sharing, you've had some of your own history of injury as a dancer. And so being able to come, what is it like for you to be able to come into drills and 30 seconds later be like, wow, how did that drill just help me in 30 seconds?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we are all used to feeling kind of bad in our bodies. We don't know what it feels like to feel good. And I think this applies especially for dancers. We are accustomed to
No pain, no gain.
no pain, no gain. And so um, I just never thought that with a 30-second drill, I could finally breathe again and ground again. And so I think it's incredible to give the body the gift of functioning the way that it should function. Um, with such simple exercises that you can apply anywhere you are.
Hmm. Yeah. So over a year ago, you started sharing some photos with me, which were amazing, of artists and of these events that you were planning and building and having people come and giving to your community. And I was blown away by it. Honestly, I was like, wow, this is we can really it was like creating the ripple in the lake for me, where it was like, oh my gosh, I'm a private practitioner and I've been trying to help one person at a time. And in my classes, I can create a little bit more of a ripple by being able to teach some teachers. But then I saw you take that pebble in the lake and create this giant effect of being able to touch several artists at the same time with your course, Stamina Lab. So I had the great opportunity of coming last year and collaborating with you in a huge event with, I think, over 70 artists. And then from there, we just talked and collaborated on programming and creating what is now known as Stamina Lab. So I'd love to kind of hear about some of the challenges and improvements that inspired you to create that course to begin with, and then how it's morphed into what is now Stamina Lab.
Well, I really wanted to give my students an opportunity to really feel these drills for more than maybe 10 minutes, which is why what I was giving them in my voice lessons
Yeah, it's
because
hard in a lesson. You have to give vocal information. That's why they're coming to you. And if they're like, "Why are you spending so much time on my body?" That's going to be very confusing to someone in a private session as a voice teacher for sure. And those who have worked with me, I think, can definitely agree.
exactly, I was giving them about 2 drills before the lesson just to help them find freedom in their voice, but I wasn't giving them a full routine. And I was hearing from them that they were getting very tired on stage, physically and vocally, and so that meant that their bodies weren't ready for, the demands of a 2-hour show.
Mhm.
And so I thought, well, if my students who come to me maybe 4 times a month or twice can also come to this 2-hour session where I give them a full routine where they get more than 2 restorative drills, and an athletic portion as well, then they can complement the vocal work that we're doing with the body work and, uh, and then be able to actually choose the drills that work best for them.
Mhm.
And I thought it was also a great opportunity for community building because the process of building a voice one-on-one with a teacher can be lonely sometimes, and I think
For the
that
teacher too. Yeah.
for the teacher
Student
as
and
well.
teacher.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I thought it was a really cool, idea to bring in artists from different industries to see the progress and see the effects of these drills in each person and just the artistry that can come out when the body is available for a free sound.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd love to take a moment and let the listeners know that in Stamina Lab, the way that it is programmed is that we have the singers come in and then we work through a meditation. We begin at nervous system, which I'm going to come back to in just a moment because this is a really important component of how we program Stamina Lab. And then we come into self release drills. So, self massage drills. Again, really focusing on nervous system regulation, and then coming into singing. And then we come into positional movement drills where we're holding positions. Of course, when we're working privately, we're able to really be able to bring in specific drills. In a course, we have to just kind of program what we think people might want. Although we have run people through a couple assessments, maybe not as many as we do in a private session or as that I do in the clinic, but at least a couple to feel out and have it be a little bit more specific, which is important. And then having them sing again after positional drills, and then moving them into this athletic portion that Maria was just talking about, and then having them sing again, and maybe even choosing a couple artists to be able to run them through some private work, or some personal work, I should say, not private because it is in front of the group, but some personal work. This programming is so profound and important for a performer. And here's why. Not only is it about stamina, and in a moment, I want to talk to you about what that word means to you and how you chose stamina for Stamina Lab, but also because of what I'm talking about with nervous system. A lot of times when we talk, and especially to a performer, about the nervous system, we start to try to say parasympathetic nervous system. We need to get into the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's true. We want parasympathetic activation. We want to get into that rest and digest. The challenge with that is that that is not where our performers live when they're on stage. When they are on stage, they are in a sympathetic response, right? And we need them to be able to regulate the nervous system, meaning come in and out of sympathetic and parasympathetic and be able to regulate in between. That is very, very important. So it can't just be meditate and breathe. We need to also implement those athletic portions and those vocal portions and those come and sing in front of a group that help stimulate that sympathetic response and then help them regulate back into a parasympathetic, because that is actually what is required of them on stage and in performance. So this nervous system component that is, I think, so beautifully addressed in how we've programmed Stamina Lab, I think it's part of what is so unbelievably profound and the carryover for our artists. So it's awesome. They're gaining these drills, they're gaining this information, both vocal and physical, and through their nervous system, and to help them actually be able to go and have that stamina that you were talking about. They would say, I just have a hard time getting through my 2-hour show. And so I think it's extraordinary that you started creating this event, a year and a half ago, and then seeing what it has become as we've been able to collaborate. And I am deeply honored, and I could cry because I love you so much, that you have chosen to do this collaboration with me. So first of all, thank you. I am unbelievably honored to be a part of this project with you and a part of this programming with you. And I'm so, so grateful. So thank you.
Thank you, Christine. I am very honored. I can't believe that the person that I was learning from online for so many hours is now here in Mexico City with me. And I can't believe we just had an event this week.
Yeah.
And it was so successful and people were so happy afterwards. It is so delightful.
Let's talk about that event. What were some of the things that you saw, or what was one of your favorite moments within someone who was in that event? You could choose someone. And then what are some of the things that you hear from these events from the artists that either feed you or, know that, yes, this is making an impact?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it was amazing to work together with a singer because I was able to focus on the voice and you on the body. One of my favorite transformations was with Robert Coronel, who is a well-known musical theater performer in the city. And it was very cool after we did voice work when you asked him to go into the position that he started off with, sing there, and then change to the position that you wanted him to get into. And just that shift, it was so powerful. And I think for everyone, not only for him, it really showed us how such a small change can really make it joyful for the singer to perform. Because I think when performers start losing that joy to do what they love the most, it gets really hard for them. So
And when it feels like it becomes effortful, if it's overly effortful, and it's like, oh, that starts to decrease the joy. They can often go hand in hand. So to be able to say, hey, you're pushing your center of mass forward. If we just help you find your center of mass, you're going to help unlock the airway, which he was able to do, which was beautiful. How then that can go, oh my gosh, that feels so much freer. And then the joy can come back into it.
Yeah, he did a little dance for us, and that was very cute. We all loved it because he did start off nervous about sharing the chunk of the song that he chose, and then he was just able to be present and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what I've heard from many of the people who have attended these sessions. When they leave the session, they just feel great emotionally and physically. And I think it's so important for them to feel good in their bodies and what they're doing.
Yeah. What's some of the feedback that you receive that has just been so exhilarating for you to hear of how you're making an impact?
I think some of my students have, before started working with me and attending these sessions, have expressed to me that they don't feel like they are singers,
Mm-hmm.
even though they've been performing for decades.
Yes.
They don't consider themselves singers, and they feel so insecure in their voice that they feel like they just don't want to perform anymore, and it's like their last shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to give them a voice that they feel proud of sharing, for me is like a rebirth, and it's so shocking for me to be able to be a part of that experience. I just find so much meaning in my work because I know how much it can mean for someone's career to finally feel like they can perform and be themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, there is a lot of meaning in your work. I want to come to something that I love that you implemented in this that I think is very challenging to implement in an event like this, which is the time at the end of the event for community building. You are very great. You have been able in these events to get sponsors, unbelievable sponsors. Thank you to all of the sponsors. Now at this point, media is reaching out to you to be able to interview you before these events because of the impact that it's making. And not just here in Mexico City, but as we start to bring Stamina Lab all over the world. And so it's gaining attraction and interest. And at the end of these events is this community building where all other artists come together. And what was extraordinary for me this week was that even the artists who have a large following, who are very well known, stayed for community building. And that doesn't happen very often. People are like, I'm getting out of here because I don't want to sign autographs. I don't, because they're doing it all the time. And that's not, I don't want to sign I wouldn't want to sign autographs all the time either. So I totally understand why someone would be like, cool, thanks for the event. Bye. I'm out of here. But they didn't. They stayed. They stayed and they hung out and they communicated and they were a part of this community, which I think is so powerful for everyone in the room that suddenly in this space, everyone is equal.
Well, I think this work, because it brings you back to who you are and not really what you represent,
Mm.
I think it just makes everyone be present in the room, and suddenly everything else is no longer important. And so I think that the programming of the class makes it feel safe for everyone because nervous systems are regulated and then dysregulated and then regulated, but it makes everyone feel like they're where they should be. And so I think at the end, having this opportunity to share the experience that they just had no matter who they are, where they come from, is really, really beautiful. And it also has been really impactful for me as a teacher to see how this community has been building by itself. I don't feel like I'm doing anything really. I'm just letting it happen with the work.
Mm.
And I think that people who need this work and who are ready to take in this work come together, and that's how they find connection. They're in it together.
Mhm. Yeah, which is very powerful. Yeah, they come in with a dysregulated nervous system, and then we help regulate it with bringing in sympathetic, parasympathetic together. That's awesome. Okay, so we have this event, Stamina Lab, which is what we have been talking about. And now, this fall, we are starting to bring it into a longer 2.5/3 day retreat. So, talk about community building. We are about to start Stamina Within. So, I'd love to hear your thoughts because you're the one who thought, hey, let's bring this into a retreat. You've already done a couple of retreats with other collaborators, and then you thought, what if we start to take the idea and event of Stamina Lab and bring it into a longer form setting?
Totally. I mean, I think it's important for someone who is starting to feel the connection between their body and their voice to have more time to explore this relationship, because I feel like many of us singers don't quite understand the relationship. And so during a voice lesson, something might click, but then you don't see your teacher for a full week, and then that connection sort of disappears. And so I thought, well, what a gift to be able to really dive into this work for 2 full days and a half, being able to ask questions, being able to see in other bodies how this work impacts not only the shape of the body, but also the voice. And I just think it's a great opportunity for deep learning, to be in it for more than just a session or a stamina lab where you might feel some cool stuff, but you want to learn more.
Hmm. Yeah, it's such an amazing opportunity. So for Stamina Lab, we have an upcoming event in, where's our upcoming event?
The retreat?
Yeah.
It's in Tepoztlán in Mexico. It's a very beautiful town, where there are several retreat centers, and we're hosting it at La Buena Vibra, which means the good vibes. And we're going to gather a group of 15 people who really want to experience the effect of this work in their bodies and their minds and their creative souls.
Yeah. Is there a part of Stamina Within that you are looking forward to the most?
I think being able to spend full days with these artists and just see the progression of their understanding and the sound in their voices and their confidence. I think it'll be really awesome to witness the transformation.
Hmm. Being able to have several classes where we're implementing body and voice together and improv, which we haven't really implemented before, and some other things. I don't want to give it away because I'm very excited about it. But being able to come in with this community and create coursework in a sense, or this arc of these classes that help body and voice come together, body and voice come together, body, nervous system, voice, all of this being implemented together in a community setting, with people who are there to both advance their own practice and their own voicing, as well as being able to support others who are ready for that work. And I'm unbelievable. I've wanted to do a retreat for a long time. I set out to do a retreat right before the pandemic, So it never happened. So this will be my first time doing a retreat, which I'm so excited about. And I'm excited to see how I feel like we're going to leave the retreat um, very much feeling like a family. I think there's going to be a lot of learning and learning together and aha moments that every one of us, including you and me, that we are going to have that help advance us to whatever comes next.
Yeah, maybe our stamina labs become a little bit different after the retreat, after seeing how also some more improv work or emotional work that we do at the retreat also helps people advance their goals. So it's really exciting how every project that we build can influence the future work that we do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting. It's very exciting. So I would love to just open up to anything else that you would want to mention about the incredible work that you do here in Mexico City. Anything with your private work, Stamina Lab, Stamina Within, anything else that you would like to mention. I would love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think the biomechanics work that I've been doing, thanks to you and your teaching, what I think is amazing about it is that it not only helps the voice, it also helps health in general. I suffered an injury at 15 while um, preparing for an audition in London for a ballet school, the Royal Ballet School.
Mm,
And I didn't know why it happened. It was always a mystery to me, and I didn't understand why I hadn't been able to regain the strength that I had as a dancer after the injury. I went to so many doctors, and they weren't able to help me. And when I started learning from you, I understood that it was a grounding issue, that I didn't have good grounding on my right foot, and that's what made my right knee deviate because I didn't have the strength to plie and lift my opposite leg up, and
your brain was searching for the ground.
it was, and it found it when I collapsed.
Mm.
And I think what has been really awesome for me and my students is to also benefit from the health that these drills provide. I think it's incredible. One of my students is like, I'm getting 2 in 1. I'm learning how to sing, but I can also see better because now I have good grounding. I can also have more endurance in my dance classes because I can ground better. Um, and I mean, I feel the same way. It's incredible that a practice that is so simple can give you more than many years of physical therapy. And so I think this work that we've been doing together is so three-dimensional. It's like everything. It's like a lifestyle. And and I think that's what has been so powerful for me in Mexico City sharing this work. It's like this is a way of living. It's a way of caring for your health and your art. But that's just a second effect, you know? If you feel good, you can function. But I mean, we've been going to seminars with doctors, and we're the only voice people that are learning about biomechanics, and everyone's so shocked that we're bringing this clinical work into the art world. Um, and it's just so cool that I'm not a doctor, obviously, and I can help people regain feelings that they haven't had in years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's such an important part of the work. For me, as a manual therapist and a biomechanics specialist who works with all professional voice users, but I am not a voice teacher. So when I am working with someone, even in a masterclass setting, my main goal is about helping their body get out of pain. But by doing so, we're able to help free up the airway. And that is so incredible that, so I'm not even thinking, how can I free up this airway unless there is local stuff happening at that airway? I'm thinking, where am I drawn? Where is over compressing here and over expanding? How can I open that up and help that change and optimize? And if someone's able to then be able to manage and modulate pressure better, then it's going to impact the airway. It's going to impact compression and expansion that is happening at the airway, right? So if we're starting to get into various adaptive patterning in somewhere in the body, if we start to work with that adaptive pattern and introduce new adaptations, then that body is able to have, which is what we're after, 1, less pain or no pain, and 2, adaptability, right? We're not asking someone to get into a different position and stay there. We're asking someone to allow their bodies to be as adaptable as possible so they can do all the choreography that they're asked to do, so that they could truly ground and occupy a side and rotate and truly ground and occupy the other side. And when someone starts to experience that and gets to that capability, the sky's the limit. And we get to see it, which is humbling and spectacular.
I just had a student who performed in Madrid who shared with me that for the first time, he was able to go on stage and not think about anything. He was just there. And it was like an experience that was spiritual and just something that he can't really explain because he wasn't in pain and he was present. Yeah.
Presence, artistry. That's what all of this work is about. The artist wants, as a performer, when you're on stage, it's about the artistry so that everything that you have done allows you to get out of your head, allows you to find the floor, and allows you to soar. It allows you to know what you're saying, be present with the other actors, be present with what's happening on stage. And when someone reaches that, wow, it's remarkable.
Yeah, in acting school, I always felt like I wasn't able to be present and I didn't know why. And we were meditating at the beginning of the sessions and, doing this repetition work. And it just wasn't happening for me because my body was way too compressed. And we weren't getting these tools for the body that could just let you be. I think sometimes we put in so much effort into being present that it doesn't happen. You just have to let the body do what it's supposed to do.
Well, and I love that you just mentioned that you were so compressed because I think with our artists and performers, a lot of times they might be encouraged to not strength train. And what's happening there is that if you're doing programs that don't understand the demands that are placed on you with your pressure management and of your voicing, then what can happen is we create overcompression. We're compressing areas that we're already so compressed in because we haven't dealt with our adaptive patterning. However, these drills are not just helpful as warm-ups for voicing. They are helpful for your warm-ups for your strength and conditioning because they're helping get you out of those adaptive patterns that you might be stuck in. If you're overly compressed in a certain area and then you add load to that, that's just putting more load on top of a pattern that you're already in and then can eventually lead to pain, injury, etc. But if we take drills to help someone get out of that adaptive pattern first, and then they go into strength training, adding the load is very different for that body. And it's incredibly important for not just pain management, voicing, but also for our strength and conditioning, because we have to. I mean, we're told for longevity, we need to strength train. But then as a singer, if you hear, well, don't strength train because you're overcompressed, you're like, but I have to strength train for longevity. So I'm hearing mixed messages. Yes, you should strength train, but also there are things you can do to help you have a more or more significant impact on your strength training because you understand how to get out of those previous patterns.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've heard a lot that running on the treadmill and singing at the same time is gonna get you through a show. That's a very common story, I feel like. Um, but I think we're missing all of that restorative portion of what are you gonna do before the cardio? And is running actually helpful to train? Can you talk about that? Because I remember that was one of the questions that was asked a lot during the first biomechanics course that I took with you, where you shared that that was probably not the best type of training that you would want to give someone.
I am a runner. I was a runner. I was a marathon runner, half marathon. So we actually didn't quite agree on, because there were two teachers and we didn't necessarily agree on what's helpful. I used to run a mile before every show I did, and it was unbelievably helpful. I didn't sing at the same time,
That's what I
but I
meant.
did run. And the
Yeah.
reason I did is because for me, rotation is something that is very challenging for me based on my medical history. So to be able to open that up and have rotation and be able to modulate that pressure was very helpful. I do want to come back to the fact that you mentioned running on a treadmill because we don't have optic flow. I never ran on a treadmill before I was going out to do a show. I always ran outside because optic flow is very important for our system. It's very important to have peripheral vision for our brain. And if we're running on a treadmill, and especially if we're running on a treadmill and looking at a screen and coming into foveal vision with our sight, with our eyesight, we're continuing to bring our body through a very sympathetic state when it's meant to have parasympathetic experiences with optic flow and what that's doing for our nervous system, what that's telling our brain about how we're passing other objects, other things, and how that helps us to continue to, one, thrive, and two, uh, come um, out of compression, is incredibly important for an artist. So I'm okay. For me, I think cardio was fantastic. But again, I didn't ever sing while I was actually running.
Yeah, yeah. Can you talk more about that? That's what I meant, the combination of the two.
Hmm.
The two are so hard to do,
Hmm.
and then when you combine them, it gets really hard. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I mean, my main thought on that is that when we're singing, it's very common to mouth breathe. We have to mouth breathe more than the general population. We hear nasal breathe, nasal breathe, nasal breathe, and that is really important for our system. And part of how I'm helping train CO2 tolerance by inhaling, can I keep a pace where I'm inhaling through my nose and exhaling through my mouth? And can I keep that pace? Now, if I speed up to do speed runs, I'm breathing in through my mouth, but I'm also working at speed. So if I want to build CO2 tolerance for stamina on stage, then I need to help with how I'm breathing during my cardio. If I'm singing at the same time, that challenges, like I can't nasal breathe and sing and run at the same time. I have a much harder time really actually building that stamina.
Right, which is why our cardio portion in Stamina Lab is pretty short, right? Or we do a minute and then we rest, and then a minute and then we rest, because that's also what we're doing on stage. You're not running for 2 full hours. You're also resting.
Right. You have like a 4-minute dance sequence and then you have to pause. However, you have a 4-minute dance sequence where you have to sing at the same time. So at some point, we have to help the artists get there and understand that that is part of what's going to be asked of them. Um, but I wouldn't begin training someone there. They have to start with kind of one at a time. It's like putting someone in a drill that impacts their feet, their pelvis, their rib cage, their cranium, their vision, all at the same time when they've never done drills. It's too much for their system. And they'll be like, I feel weird. And you're like, yeah, I just overloaded you. Right. So, which is why we start drills quite simple when someone has never, if someone doesn't know how to continue to rotate their pelvis, or if their brain just doesn't understand how to truly supinate and pronate their foot and what that impact is all the way up to that atlanto-occipital joint and how that impacts through the cranium all the way to the mandible, because it does. If they don't have at least a small, you don't have to have that much of an understanding, but if they don't have at least a small understanding or haven't experienced subtle shifts first, which I know can be boring, but it's so important. If they haven't experienced those subtle shifts first, we overload the system. And the same thing can happen with how we train someone with cardio and how we train someone with cardio and voicing. But ultimately, they are asked to dance and sing at the same time. So we have to help them get to the stamina to be able to produce that.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible what can happen in one session. So it's been really cool to see in our stamina labs where we've been progressing every session, how people with two sessions are now making incredible sounds and feeling great in their bodies. It's like you think when you're training as a singer that you need decades of training to be incredible. And really, if you're doing the right things, you can achieve goals in a pretty short amount of time.
The challenging part class-wise is that if we have a mixture of people who it's their first class with people who it's their 6th class, how we implement the drills. And that's an important component. And that's something that we're continuing to learn as we continue to provide these events for the community of how do we take someone who, or several people who this is their first experience of the work, but still challenge those who not only have done 5 other labs or and also study privately with you or with me, but also uh, have been implementing the work in between. Like they're doing the work, which our people are. We have a lot of people who are doing the work and they're like, wow, I'm singing this and I cannot believe that I just came through Tech Week and I am not vocally tired. And you're like, huzzah! It's so exciting, right? Because they're doing the work. So it's them being able to implement the work, but then taking someone who is doing that work already and then bringing in someone brand new, how we have to kind of manage those who are newer and those who are more advanced.
Totally. I think having a mixture of the drills for beginners and also bringing in some advanced drills, I think is the key to keep progressing a community, because you can't always do it right for everyone, when it's a group setting.
Yeah.
So, which is why I encourage the students who work with me to come to all of the sessions so that they can get the full experience of it.
Yeah. Well, and in the future, there might be something that people are able to do in between. So TBD. But looking ahead a few years from now, Where do you see Stamina Lab, Stamina Within? What is your vision?
Well, I really hope to be able to provide these drills to everyone who is interested and doesn't live in Mexico City or New York. I really want to be able to help singers experience this body work anywhere they are. And so I think finding the way to do this where someone can really understand the work even though they don't have us there in person is the key, because you are the first person to bring in biomechanics into the voice world, and meeting you maybe isn't an option for everyone. I was very lucky to meet you because I went to school in New York, and so many people mentioned you along the way. And I think that bringing this work to anyone who wants to find real freedom in their voice and find tools that are actually helpful is going to be really exciting.
I don't know if I'm the first, but with a lot of the classes that you and I have been fortunate to take, and the fact that we've been able to start taking some of those together, and with the advancement of knowledge and information in the field of biomechanics, how that's able to implement. So there have been many before me to implement some form of biomechanics, but the fact that we just know more now, and being able to have other colleagues who are doing some of the research work and really understanding how each joint functions and works and what that means. And we are taking it and going, what does that mean for the airway? What does that mean for the voice? So it's exciting.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christine, for doing this work for the world. It's so transformative.
Wow. Well, thank you for doing this work for the world as well. I feel very lucky and fortunate to be able to collaborate with you. I don't know how I would be able to keep going without you. You inspire me to continue to be passionate and continue to do the work for a demographic I am so unbelievably passionate about. And you are such a huge flame in my light, like a very good flame of like lighting this flame under me and igniting me in the most exciting way to be able to help change this world.
Thank you, Christine. I think I'm going to cry.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. We obviously love each other. We are sharing the love. I would also like to share that love with everyone else in the room today, because how unbelievable that we are able to do a podcast in person today. So thank you, Jacobo. Thank you so much for your camera work. Thank you to Tux. Thank you so much for your amazing audio production that I am unbelievably grateful for. Thank you, Micah, for all of the incredible support that you provide behind the scenes. We are unbelievably blessed to have you. Thank you, Maria, for being a guest on the podcast. And thank you, listeners, for joining us for today's podcast. This has been so exciting for me to be able to be here and be in person. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Visceral Voice podcast. If this conversation resonated with you, please subscribe. It's free and it helps us keep sharing meaningful content. A quick rating or review also makes a huge difference. Share this episode with your colleagues, students, and friends. Join us on social and visit www.thevisceralvoice.com to explore programs and upcoming events. I hope you'll join us next time for another inspiring conversation on The Visceral Voice.